smoking on top fives. That album, that single, burn that hard drive.
What top 5 you smoking on, Kendrick? Cause my top 5 is Drake.
If we broke it off, then you know it wasn't painless. If she got a watch, then you know it's not a stainless.
Kendrick Lamar, the quote-unquote savior of hip-hop, just released his 5th studio album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. And in this video I'm going to share my thoughts on it. As you've probably noticed by the title, the album was a huge disappointment for me. He let us wait half a decade for this pile of shit. Double album my ass, it's shorter than To Pimp a Butterfly. 16 songs plus 2 interludes. Social media is on his dick right now. Kendrick about to save hip-hop, he's once again ending racism and blessing the world with his greatness. His stance really said it's gonna be better than All Eyes on Me and Life After Death. Just yesterday I read comments about him finally proving the world that he's better than Pac, Big, Nas, J and M. He's quote-unquote just one album away from being objectively better than those legends. The greatest rapper and artist in existence that can never do wrong. And then you add Stan's commenting that even if the double album is whack, that he's still objectively better than them. And now that the album is released, people are comparing it to All Eyes on Me, saying it's the modern version of it. That's just outrageous to me. Pac actually recorded All Eyes on Me in just 2 weeks. It became a classic and one of the greatest albums in history. Kendrick, on the other hand, had 5 fucking years to drop it, with modern production all the time in the world, and still couldn't come close. You would actually assume the opposite, that Pac had 5 years to produce All Eyes on Me, and that Kendrick only had 2 weeks. The difference in quality is remarkable. But Kendrick's fanbase is almost like a cult, you can't even criticize him without getting a shitstorm. Kendrick wanted to put out a double album to convince people that he's part of the GOAT conversation. Cause, you know, almost all the GOATs have double albums. Pac had All Eyes on Me, Biggie had Life After Death, Jay-Z had Blueprint 2, Nas had Street's Disciple, and even the GOAT groups had double albums. Outkast, Speakerboxx, The Love Below, and Wu-Tang Forever. All of these albums are worlds better than Kendrick's, by the way. They all had more tracks on it, and way less filler, even though they were recorded in a much shorter amount of time. All Eyes on Me, 27 tracks recorded in 2 weeks after getting released from jail. Life After Death, 25 tracks recorded after Big had a near-fatal car accident and while going to physical therapy. Blueprint 2, 25 tracks recorded in just 1 year. Street's Disciple, also 25 tracks. Speakerboxx, The Love Below, 39 tracks. Wu-Tang Forever, 27 tracks. And now compare all of these projects to the album of the newest member of the GOAT conversation. Even the cover is terrible. I mean, compared to all the albums I just named. This just looks like a random photo. But anyway, let's take a look at the tracklist. Starting off with 3 horrible songs, the first one being United in Grief, which had a terrible beat that's all over the place. The female vocals in the intro are awful too. The way she speaks makes it sound like she doesn't even want to be on the song.
Tell them. Tell them. Tell them. Tell them. Tell them truth. Tell them. Tell them. Tell them.
And then her voice cuts off, and you hear a piano playing like almost every 1.5 seconds in the background. And here comes Kendrick, sounding bored, sleepy, lifeless, and unmotivated, saying this.
I've been going through something. 1,855 days.
Starting off the long-awaited album, cringe and awkward. He starts rapping fast out of nowhere, the beat becomes convoluted and messy, and the song ends up being all over the place, which I personally don't enjoy. Throwing a million things in a song, adding unnecessary components to make it sound complicated, doesn't make it good in my opinion. But that's the approach on a lot of songs on the album. I mean, of course, you will find suburban, alternative/experimental hip-hop geeks that enjoy rhymes over random noises in the background, but to people like me who prefer more traditional sounding rap music, it's just extremely irritating and nerve-wracking.
What is a bitch in a miniskirt? A man in his feelings would bitter her. What is a woman that really hurt?
Yeah.
I wanna go be a therapist. I can debate on my theories and sharing it well. Cause I let know my comparisons humbling up because time was imperative.
I said, nigga had me in the studio one night trying to do that shit. I'm like, man, cut this shit off. Fuck am I in here doing, nigga? I don't rap like that.
The second song is even worse in terms of vocal performance. Kendrick tries to sing, and it just sounds awful.
In a new world, all the boys and girls, I got some true stories to tell.
Then he gets very close to the mic and performs his first verse ASMR style.
Take off the foo-foo. Take off the couches, take off the Wi-Fi.
Not only does it sound awkward and corny, but the verse is also very repetitive in terms of content. He's repeatedly using the phrase "take off" to critique the listener. He did it 38 times in a row, just in one verse. And I know what you will say, it's a COVID-19 reference. But I don't care. It's just annoying, pointless and nerve-wracking. This is really the important message you want to tell the world after being silent for half a decade? And his delivery annoys me too. Sounds like he just woke up and randomly started rambling into a microphone with a low energy voice. Sounding bored once again, as if he doesn't even want to be on his own record.
Take off the money phone, take off the car loan, take off the flex and the white loss.
But at least he steps away from the mic in the second verse and also switches up his flow, content and delivery. The song seems to improve, and then in the third verse, all of a sudden he sounds like he got kicked in the nuts. I don't know why anyone would bump a song like this. For whatever reason, he thought it would be a good idea to rap with a weird, high-pitched, irritating voice. It just sounds awful and could have been so much better if he rapped normally. Kind of reminds me of when M came back with his Relapse album and started acting weird, rapping with accents and a large variety of annoying and irritating voices. Worldwide Steppers, another trash-ass song. The beat is basically a loop of what appears to be a 1-second sample. Almost sounds like a machine in a factory making the same noises over and over again. And on top of that you have Kendrick, who reads off one of his essays. Doesn't even sound like he's rapping. Some of his bars aren't even rhyming. The delivery is terrible, he's sounding bored and emotionless once again. No flow, doesn't even sound like he's taking anything serious, but at the same time he's reading off fake deep lyrics trying to be taken serious.
I am not for the faint of heart. My genetic build can build multi-universes. The man of God playing Baby Shark with my daughter.
He said he had writer's block for 2 years, fake woke Dr. Sebi boss, who was a mysterious herbalist/fraud who claimed to be a doctor, even though he admittedly never went to school and never read a book in his life. Denying the existence of proteins and diseases discovered by the West. Claiming that there's only one disease in the world and that it can be healed just with herbs alone. And he used to sell those herbs for a very high price to maximize his profit. It was all a business trick. Oh, and he also said that Western medicine is poison. Kendrick, as the voice of God, tries to validate Dr. Sebi's fraudulent teachings and to impress the listener with his pseudo-intellectual BS, saying that God is speaking through him directly when he's clearly just talking senseless over a trash-ass beat. This motherfucker is talking about text messaging bitches and his thumbs hurting, in the same verse where he's talking about energy chakras, the man of God, multi-universes, teleportation out of the body, fucking white bitches, and then again fucking white bitches, and then once again fucking white bitches. I might be racist. God is speaking through him when he's fucking white bitches. All of this is coming from God, ladies and gentlemen. And then in the third verse, he's once again super woke.
The media is the new religion. You killed the consciousness.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
Exactly. What the fuck? Your jealousy is way too pretentious. You killed accomplishments. The world just stopped working, ladies and gentlemen. It's literally impossible to accomplish something because of the pretentiousness of jealous people. Fuck 'em. I didn't manage to finish my computer science studies in 3 years, only because of these pretentious, jealous bastards. I blame him, and you should too. God is speaking through Kendrick directly and blessing us with knowledge. Dr. Sebi was right, AIDS ain't real. It's truly just a mess. It doesn't even sound good if we ignore all the nonsense that he's rapping. But I'll let these Kendrick stans continue dick-licking him, and praise everything he says, as he's truly a messiah to these people, and I respect all religions.
Dude, like, oh my god, like, can we talk about like the political and economic state of the world right now? Can we talk about what's going on with the environment?
The next song is the best one on the entire album, Die Hard, which also features Blast from last year's XXL freshman cover. Dope song, but Kendrick is getting outshined by his features. The song is more on the melodic side, and that's where Blast shines the most. Can't really blame Kendrick for not being able to keep up. At least he didn't fuck up with weird high-pitched vocals or by sounding bored and sleepy. And I also have to give him credit for moving out of his comfort zone and for trying to diversify the sound on his album. Father Time. This one features some decent production. Kendrick addresses his daddy issues that have fueled him and at the same time held him back. He talks about his mental health, his relationship with his father, his inability to express emotions, which is ironic because the song itself didn't move or sadden me in any way, even though it's supposed to make the listener understand his trauma, struggle, pain and depression. It's a common theme on the album, but it's not executed very well in my opinion, unlike on some of his previous projects. On this song it's Kendrick's aggressive tone, his flow and delivery, which makes it impossible for me to feel for him. Putting pain into songs without being able to make the listener feel should be avoided at all costs. If the beat ain't dope and your delivery sucks, then there's nothing else that captivates the listener, and the song will come off as boring, pretentious or meaningless. A great beat could make a badly performed song about trauma sound more interesting. And the beat on this song was actually alright. Kendrick never actually managed to make me feel for him, unlike rappers like DMX, Tupac and early Eminem. He's not my go-to artist for sad songs. I think Kendrick can't do it as well as some of his competitors. Anyway, the hook was trash and sounded a little cringe, but aside from that, the song was actually decent. Not on the level of his previous music, but still. I know Rich is supposed to be an interlude, but it's probably the worst song I've heard this year. It almost sounds like a parody of Charlie Sheen's awful piano songs for kids in the TV show 2.5 Men. Just with Kodak Black mumbling for a minute and a half straight, while the piano beat, if we can call it that, becomes more complicated by the second.
Nigga play with me, he ain't gonna be able to tell the story. This the type of shit we glorify. Everybody game.
It's just a mess. Don't know why Kendrick thought it's necessary for us to hear it. But I guess he wanted to drag out the project so he can call it a double album. Rich Spirit brings back the ASMR flow, or the too close to the microphone type sound that I criticized in the beginning of the video. Puts me off every time I hear it, but aside from that, the song doesn't really have anything going for it. Boring, mediocre, definitely not going in my playlist. We Cry Together is basically just a warm-up version of Kim from the Marshall Mathers LP. Just Kendrick arguing and fighting with his girl on records. Only difference is that Kendrick doesn't kill her, but they end up having sex. Seconds after she said that she would rather have sex with his cousin, and all those other wild things and accusations. He got turned on by all those comments about his unsatisfying dick size, didn't hurt his pride at all. Have fun bumping this song in your car. Not going back to this shit ever again.
Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you, nigga. Nah, fuck you, bitch. Nah, fuck you, nigga. Fuck you, bitch. Nah, fuck you.
Amazing song, brother.
Amazing, brother. Pop off only on occasions, brother.
Don't want to hear people arguing for 6 minutes straight, and then listen to them having sex in the end. I also don't like to see people biting off concepts and ideas from other rappers.
Fuck you, nigga. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Fuck you. You did this to us. You did it. It's your fault.
Wait, fuck you, motherfucker.
You wish you could fuck.
Wasn't the first time. Remember when he bid Mousbergs Get Naked for his song King Kunta?
Get naked. Get naked. Bitch, where you and I was fucking. Now I run the game. Got the whole world.
Niggas be biting mad styles and shit for niggas, man. Yeah. So I be hating, man. I can't stand a fucking biting ass nigga.
We was taught in hip hop, you know, biting niggas shit or getting too close to a nigga's shit is a no-go.
The unwritten laws of hip hop is we can take from anything outside of hip hop. We gangster. Give me that. But we can't do that to each other. You know, that was just the thing. Like, we was all hard on originality.
I don't want niggas sound like me on no album.
No biting, man.
Keep it real, get your own shit, man, and be original.
That was Ghostface Killah, by the way, the guy who appears on the next track and bodies Kendrick on his own album. Don't tell Nas about this.
Eminem murdered you on your own shit.
Purple Hearts, another mediocre song with a terrible and annoying hook by Kendrick. Once again making it sound like he's drunk and doesn't want to be on his own album. He has a sleepy flow and off-putting delivery that he uses not only in the hook, but also in the verse. Beat is mediocre, but I like Summer Walker's part on here. Ghostface appears at the end and tries to save the track. He really showed off his lyrical abilities and the gap in skill between him and Kenny. Impressive how he can still out-rap Kendrick over 2 decades past his prime. Not the only time he got outshined on this album actually. Pretty much every feature on this album outshined him. And it kinda hurts for me to admit it, cause I've always liked Kendrick. Always had him at number 1 for the rappers of the 2010s. Count Me Out has a decent beat, but is once again ruined by Kendrick's terrible vocal performance and delivery. Crown is trash, sleepy boring elevator music with the same 2 piano notes playing alternately. Overall I noticed that this album relies too much on piano beats. I mean, we made fun of Polo G for overusing piano beats, but Kendrick seems to get away with it. Just like with everything else he does. It's just another filler song that would be perfectly fine and acceptable if the double album was 25 to 30 songs in length. But unfortunately it isn't. But seriously, it bothers me that he struggled with filler songs even though he had 5 years to work on the project. I mean, some people put him up there with Tupac and Jay-Z, but if you look at how much they've accomplished in just 5 years, it's truly mind-blowing that we're making these comparisons. I mean, he's smoking on top 5s, but look at what real top 5 rappers have accomplished given the same amount of time Kendrick had for his whack-ass album. Almost every Tupac song you ever heard was recorded within the span of 5 years. Jay-Z dropped 6 amazing albums from 1996 to 2001. Biggie didn't even have 5 years after the release of Ready to Die. I mean, all these rappers managed to put out the best pieces of work possible with limited resources, but Kendrick, who has countless advantages over them just through the era he's part of, fails to compete even though he's still in his prime according to his stance, who give him the respect and the treatment of a hip-hop savior that will forever be the face of new school hip-hop. Silent Hill trash too. This one pissed me off the most probably. Kodak motherfucking Black has out-rapped Kendrick on his own song. The guy I made fun of for his weak rapping skills, the one I called whack for about half a decade now, took out the quote-unquote savior of rap without even trying. It's not like Kodak's verse was outstanding or anything, but Kendrick sounded so fucking whack it's unbelievable. Again, sleepy flow, can't tell if he's drunk or going through a fake emo phase. And his delivery is once again terrible. Low energy Kendrick doesn't work on a turn-up type trap beat. His nonsensical lyrics are even more basic than Kodak's.
Eminem murdered you on your own shit.
The guy who gets called a mumble rapper and who constantly gets bashed for being a talentless whack MC with 0 bars, out-rapped the man with the quote-unquote voice of God. This is your GOAT? We waited 5 years for this shit and he gets out-rapped by Kodak Black? And Kodak is not even trying to be lyrical, this verse is actually below average. What am I supposed to do now? Put Kodak in my top 20 for out-rapping the quote-unquote savior of rap? I mean, look at this cover, a crown of thorns. Kendrick is really out here comparing himself to Jesus. And guess what? The next 2 tracks are actually titled Savior. He's feeling himself way too much. A double album with 16 songs and 2 interludes. Can somebody explain why these interludes are on here? I mean, they're not even about Kendrick. Savior Interlude is just Baby Keem rapping for 2 minutes straight, and he does a better job than Kendrick on the majority of the tracks on the album. Ironic that he said, "These words come of God, you could never out-rap us." It's not like Kendrick got out-rapped by Kodak a song ago, or by Ghost on Purple Hearts. And it's not like Baby Keem is out-rapping him at this very moment. And even Keem put himself on the same level as a god. On the song Savior, he starts off by denying that he's a savior, which is kinda contradictory to all the lines on this album on which he boasts about being a god, the voice of God, and even the cover portrays him as a Christ-like figure. So it doesn't really add up. The hook by Baby Keem is also very repetitive. He's repeating the same phrase 8 times in a row. Never been a fan of Baby Keem's voice either. But aside from that, the song is alright actually. I like the beat and Kendrick did a pretty good job on here. On all 3 verses. No ASMR flow, high-pitched, nut-kicked voice, or annoying delivery. So we finally found a 3rd song that is somewhat decent. The next one is probably the 2nd weirdest song after We Cry Together, where he fights this girl for 6 minutes straight. This time he's rapping, or whispering I should say.
My auntie is a man now.
And he also drops the F-bomb like 10 times. Which probably shocked a few Kendrick fans, as some of them are suburban social justice warriors who would normally cancel people for saying stuff like this.
Faggot, 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 we ain't know no better.
Me personally, just like every other old school hip hop head, I don't have a problem with it being on records, as it's been part of the culture since the beginning. I mean, I don't promote the use of it, but it is what it is. Kendrick describes his experience growing up with an aunt that's transgender, and he adds a little bit of storytelling to it that ends with a reference to that incident in which he invited a white woman to rap his lyrics. And she proceeded to say the N-word, which made him ask her to start over and to avoid the slur. She was forced to return to the audience, and Kendrick is still ashamed of that moment to this day. Anyway, I like that he's trying out different concepts and ideas, but they're not executed very well. The beat is terrible and so are the vocals. I just don't like rap songs where the lyrics are being whispered, or spoken silently. But even if you rap those verses with a decent flow and delivery, it would still be mediocre at best for me. I listened to it maybe 5 times and I'm already sick of it. Don't think it has much replay value. A great message alone doesn't make a song great. It also has to sound good, but this just sounds trash to me. Mr. Morale, another terrible song, but this time it's his choppy flow that puts me off. He's trying way too hard to synchronize his words with the beat. It's hard to take him serious when he addresses topics like addiction and trauma, while at the same time sounding like an emotionless robot. Mother I Sober. Again, ASMR flow on a song that drags on for almost 7 minutes. He once again sounds like he's reading off his lyrics, trying to emotionally move the listener, even though he's sounding bored, emotionless and powerless. It reminds me of Baby Keem's terrible XXL freestyle, with an instrumental that is somewhat similar to that trash-ass Eminem beat on Walk on Water.
I don't go outside no more, I stay remote. Keep my spirit clean from all the demon folk.
I'm sensitive, I feel everything, I feel everybody.
It's the curse of the standard that the first of the Mathers disc set.
Walk on Water was already too long, but Kendrick extended it by 2 minutes. Ironically, both started off slow, kinda sleepy, and as if the rappers lack confidence, and in the end it gets faster, more aggressive and energetic. So yeah, I think Eminem was a huge inspiration on this album, which is not a good thing. The last track, Mirror, is another song on the album that I don't care about. Doesn't do anything for me. So the only songs I truly enjoyed on this album are Die Hard, which was actually pretty chill, Father Time and Savior. Don't know if I will put any of these songs on my playlist. The rest is either trash, mid, or not interesting enough for me to waste more of my time on it. If I had to rate this album, I would probably give it a 4 out of 10, but mainly because it's Kendrick. If anyone else had dropped this trash-ass album, I would have definitely given it a lower ranking. But it was nice hearing his voice after almost half a decade. Maybe if he had worked on the album for another 5 years, it might have been dope. Who knows how long it will take for him to drop his next album. If he manages to drop something better in a shorter amount of time, then I'm happy for him. But to me, it feels like he fell off. Anyway, feel free to share your thoughts and opinions in the comments. And try to keep it respectful as always. See you in the next video.